Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy James, and this is day 4, vlog 4 of 50, on my way to age 50 in 50 days. And today, y'all can see, what I'm wearing. There is a new trend. Young cats call it the quarter zip movement. Sweater, got the zip, quarter zip, and this ain't nothing new. I've been rocking this for decades. But as the saying goes, history has a way of repeating itself. When I was thinking about that, history repeating itself, this quarter zip movement by these young fellas, and I'm not hating on them. It just really wanted me to talk about today on day 4 of history repeating itself as I'm looking at it through the lens of a soon to be 50-year-old. All of the things that I've tried to do so history wouldn't repeat itself in a lot of areas in my life. And, my channel is called The Dad's Thing. And I grew up in Jamaica, Queens. Very tough. My dad was around, wasn't around. I had 2 grandfathers on my paternal side. On my maternal side, both passed away. My grandfather, my mother's father, he passed away when she was, in her late teens, after she had my oldest brother. My father's dad passed away when I was 2.5, 3 years old. So I didn't have those men in my life. And that's something else that I saw. My grandmothers not have their husbands with them at very, very important and critical stages of their lives, but also their kids' lives. So as a youngster growing up and having all odds stacked against you, in school, public schools in Queens, it wasn't the greatest. And when you have teachers that didn't pour into you, when you had standardized tests that weren't for you, it made learning very, very difficult. And I remember, being a 3rd grader and having a teacher tell me that I wasn't smart. I couldn't learn. I wouldn't be able to do the things that I dreamt about. Standardized tests, you take it. It was these things. They ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? You might have a little bit of an idea as a 3rd grader. Most of the time you hear, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a police officer. And I remember me saying I wanted to be a lawyer. I take these standardized tests, the grades come back, and they tell me I'm not smart enough to be a lawyer. Who says that to a child who has their whole life ahead of them, still developing? But those things really stuck to me. And for me, seeing all of these things around me, bad education, not having grandfathers in my life and the effects it would have on my grandmothers, my dad not being around the way, I'd want him to be for my mom. At a very early age, I said that I was going to be the greatest husband that I could be, and I would be the greatest father that I could be. And I said that with the utmost confidence because, as I said, those are 2 things that no man, and for that matter, no woman, could tell me I couldn't do. I said, this is a God's thing. If God wills is for me to be a husband, I will be. If his will for me to be a father, I will be. But no person on this planet Earth will tell me I can't do those things. And when I look at the type of father I am today, and when I look at the type of husband I am today, and I'm not tooting my horn, you know, I have my days where I could be better, and I know I can be better. But I do know this, I put my best foot forward every single day. I know that I am loved by my wife and by my daughters. I know, based off of how I go about those two, and in my most important roles of my life, I give it my all. And there's things, other areas of my life where I say, man, could I have done this differently? Or could I have been better here? Or blah, 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 blah. You know, and I think about my lane, my purpose. And I can honestly say that I am living in my purpose of being that husband that I wanted to be and being that father that I wanted to be. And my hopes is that I could be of assistance to other fathers that are on their journeys, to inspire, encourage, to help. I hope to help young men that may eventually be husbands and fathers at some point in their life. And that excites me. But I also know that this journey of being a husband and a father comes from a place of not wanting to repeat history. And I get, you know, there's situations and circumstances around my paternal father, grandfather passed away of cancer. That's out of his hands. My maternal grandfather, he drowned. That was an accident. Again, that's out of his hands for the most part. And my dad, who I would go on to have a great relationship, always had access to my dad. But my dad was a hurting man. He lost his father at a critical stage in his life. Someone who he would need to be a role model, to encourage him, to show him the way of how to be a husband and how to be a father. He didn't have that. And he didn't have that very quickly, you know, within the first 2 years of my life. And I'm his first son. So he didn't have that. And my dad also was a serviceman in the Air Force who witnessed war. And when he came home from Vietnam, he wasn't the same man who left here as most of our men and women who leave and come back from war. They're not the same. And it took me a while to understand that, because I did everything in my power to be different than my father, who I bear his name, with the exception of our middle name, which is different. But I made an emphasis on being known as James L. Simmons and not James M. Simmons, as my dad is Junior. So there was a lot of things that I had to work on to get to a place to have a great relationship with my dad later on in life, where he and I could have a good understanding of each other, our needs, but most importantly, the love that we had and have for each other. My dad is in my heart each and every day, even though he's gone on to heaven for many years now. But it was difficult. And it came from a place for me not wanting to repeat a lot of the hurts and pains that I had seen at a young age and then as a young man. So that's today. You know, history has a way of repeating itself. But people also have a way of affecting and altering history if they so desire. And I know I talked about it in the opening vlog of taking a look at what my impact is moving forward from age 50 and on. And I can say I've had some practice already. I know what it takes to be a change maker, to have some influence, to have your impact felt, and to do these things in a positive way. Because that's the ultimate goal, making change for the better. So I want to thank y'all for being with me on this day 4. I gotta say this was a tough day because it was a long day. I had to get to my recording a little bit later, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that I'm able to be in front of the camera and sharing this message with you all today. So as always, take care. God bless. Be good. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.